Thank you for being you. Thank you for looking out for us old folks. And thank you for wearing your masks. We're we are here for our annual core poetry reading, and I want to thank all the readers who are joining us here today. This year's theme for our reading after W.H. Auden is the age of anxiety. And I think a title like Age of Anxiety today really needs no introduction. So without further ado, we are going to start reading for you in alphabetical order, with each reader introducing the next reader. Our first reader of the evening is our very good friend, without whom nothing of this sort would probably be possible, Zach Bos.
Thanks very much, Sassan. Tip your server, folks. I've got 3 short poems, each of which expresses a kind of anxiety. And in my mind, they all address, or 2 address the theme of home, where so many of us have spent so much time. The first is Home is So Sad by Philip Larkin. Home is so sad. It stays as it was left, shaped to the comfort of the last to go, as if to win them back. Instead, bereft of anyone to please, it withers so, having no heart to put aside the theft and turn again to what it started as, a joyous shot at how things ought to be, long fallen wide. You can see how it was. Look at the pictures and the cutlery, the music and the piano stool, that vase. This poem is Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. The last poem I'll share tonight is Couplet by Emily Dickinson. In this short life that only lasts an hour, how much, how little is within our power. I'll now give it over to Sophie Klein.
Hi, actually I have a guest reader who's going to come help me read. Can you say hi, everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. We are going to be reading a couple of poems tonight by an author that both Ariel and I really, really like. And that poet is Silverstein. And Ariel's going to help me. She's going to help me read it.
What do you think?
Let's see. Here we go. All right, Silverstein. So those of you who are familiar with his oeuvre, yeah, they're pretty short. So we're going to do, I think, like 7 short poems, but I hope you'll enjoy them. Where the sidewalk ends. There is a place where the sidewalk ends and before the street begins. And there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the
Peppermint.
Peppermint wind.
Peppermint wind looks funny.
Yes, peppermint wind does look funny. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black and the dark street winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is
Measured
and slow, and watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place
Where the sidewalk ends.
Where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk where the walk, bless you, that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk white arrows go. For the children they mark, and the children they know. The place
The sidewalk ends.
where the sidewalk ends. Oh, yeah, she's gonna help me advance the slides too. Wait, try that. I won't hatch. Oh, I am a chickie who lives in an egg, but
I will not hatch.
I will not hatch. The hens
I
they'll
will not
cackle.
hatch.
Oh, yes, thank you. The hens they'll cackle, the roosters all beg, but
I will not hatch. I will not hatch.
for I hear all the talk of pollution and war, as the people all shout and the airplanes roar. So I'm staying in here where it's safe and warm. And
I will not hatch.
I will not hatch. Oh, thank you. The worst. When singing songs of scariness, of bloodiness and hairiness, I feel obligated at this moment to remind you of the most ferocious beast of all, 3,000 pounds and 9 feet tall, the...
Slippy Skywell standing right behind you.
Do
Yeah.
you want to press the button?
Very good.
The voice. There is a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. I feel that this is right for me. I know that this is wrong. No teacher, do you want to
Preacher,
read? Parent,
friend, or wise man can decide. It's right for you to listen to the voice that speaks inside.
thank you, Sarah Jensen. Put something in. Draw a crazy picture.
Write a nutty poem.
Sing a mumble gumble song.
Mumble gumble.
Yeah, whistle through your comb. Do a
Loony goony.
loony goony dance. Cross the kitchen floor. Put something silly in the world that ain't been there before.
Sky ceiling.
A piece of sky broke off and fell through the crack in the ceiling right into my soup.
Plop.
Kerplop. I really must state that I usually hate lentil soup, but I ate every delicious, delicious, a bit like plaster, but so delicious, goodness sake. I could have eaten a lentil soup lake. It's amazing.
There's a bit of sky can make.
A bit of sky can make. And here's our last one.
Oops.
Down, upside out come all poems my. Found I can't, but try do I. Around all them turn not can I. Down, upside out come all poems my.
Can we do this?
Yeah, you want to read it up, right side up?
Yeah.
Okay.
My poems all come upside down. I cannot turn them all around. I do try, but I can't. I found my poems all come out upside down.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yay, thank you. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Keena Howell.
Can't believe I have to follow that team. This is a serendipitous choice. The week that we taught Beethoven and Beethoven's Ninth a couple of weeks ago, I found this translation of Schiller's poems in my laundry room from 1852. And then I found another book that had a bookmark of Schiller in it. And this all happened this week. So I felt that I needed to read something from Schiller. This is an English translation. It's called The Division of the Earth. Take the world, Zeus exclaimed from his throne in the skies to the children of man. Take the world I now give, it shall ever remain as your heirloom and prize, so divided as brothers and happily live. Then all who had hands sought their share to obtain. The young and the aged make haste to appear. The husbandman ceased on the fruits of the plain. The youth through the forest pursued the fleet deer. The merchant took all that his warehouse could hold. The abbot selected the last year's best wine. The king barred the bridges, the highways controlled, and said, now remember, the tithes shall be mine. But when the division long settled had been, the poet drew nigh from a far distant land. But alas, not a remnant was now to be seen. Each thing on earth owned a master's command. Alas, shall then I of thy sons the most true, shall I mongst them all be forgotten alone? This loudly he cried in his anguish and threw himself in despair before Jupiter's throne. If thou in the region of dreams did delay, complain not of me, the immortal replied. When the world was apportioned, where then were thou? I was, said the poet, I was by your side. Mine eye was then fixed on the features so bright, mine ear was entranced by thy harmony's power. O pardon the spirit that awed by thy light, all things of the earth could forget in that hour. What to do, Zeus exclaimed, for the world has been given. The harvest, the market, the chase are not free. But if thou wilt with me abide in my heaven, whenever thou comest, thou will be open to thee. And I will pass it over to Stephanie Nelson.
So I'm cheating a little bit. So for the age of anxiety, I decided on a poem that is about the loss of the time when we didn't have any anxiety. So it's in a way a poem about the loss of childhood, but it's one of my favorite poems, and it's a very good spring poem. So it's Dylan Thomas's Fernhill. Now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden in the heydays of his eyes. And honored among wagons, I was prince of the apple towns. And once below a time, I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns about the happy yard, and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young once only, time let me play and be golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman. The calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hay fields high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air and playing, lovely and watery, and fire green as grass. And nightly, under the simple stars as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the night jars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing into the dark. And then to awake, and the farm like a wanderer white with the dew come back, the cock at his shoulder, it was all shining, it was Adam and maiden, the sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light in the first spinning place, the spellbound horses walking warm out of the whinnying green stable on to the fields of praise. And honored among foxes and pheasants by the gay house under the new-made clouds, and happy as the heart was longed in the sun born over and over, I ran my heedless ways. My wishes raced through the house-high hay, and nothing I cared at my sky-blue trades that time allows in all his tuneful turning, so few, and such morning songs before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in the lamb white days, that time would take me up to the swallow-thronged loft by the shadow of my hand in the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly with the high fields and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea. So next is Anita Patterson.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I'm going to read a poem by the African-American poet, Robert Hayden, who served as the first Black US poet laureate in the late 1970s. And his work interests me for many reasons, including his creative engagement with canonical modernists such as T.S. Eliot and W.H. Auden, and his reflections on what he called his dark nights of the soul. He studied with Auden when he enrolled in an MA program in English at the University of Michigan, and Auden helped to guide his development as a poet. So the title of the poem I'm going to read is Those Winter Sundays, and it's about love and devotion and being a parent or a child in an age of anxiety. Those winter Sundays. Sundays too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor and the weekday weather made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house, speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? Thank you. And now, my wonderful friend and colleague, Christopher Ricks.
Thank you very much. W.H. Auden wrote his Age of Anxiety in the 40s, 10 years earlier, just before the Second World War, presenting itself as a terrible pandemic of a certain sort. William Empson wrote a poem called Just a Smack at Auden. Waiting for the end, boys, waiting for the end. What is there to be or do? What's become of me or you? Are we kind or are we true? Sitting two and two, boys, waiting for the end. Shall I build a tower, boys, knowing it will rend? Crack upon the hour, boys, waiting for the end. Shall I pluck a flower, boys? Shall I save or spend? All turn sour, boys, waiting for the end. Shall I send a wire, boys? What is there to send? All are under fire, boys, waiting for the end. Shall I turn a sire, boys? Shall I choose a friend? The fat is in the pyre, boys, waiting for the end. Shall I make it clear, boys, for all to apprehend, those that were not here, boys, waiting for the end, knowing it is near, boys, trying to pretend, sitting in cold fear, boys, waiting for the end? Shall we send a cable, boys, accurately penned, knowing we are able, boys, waiting for the end, via the Tower of Babel, boys, Christ will not ascend. He's hiding in his stable, boys, waiting for the end. Shall we blow a bubble, boys, glittering to distend, hiding from our trouble, boys, waiting for the end? When you build on rubble, boys, nature will append double and redouble, boys, waiting for the end. Shall we make a tale, boys, that things are sure to mend, playing bluff and hail, boys, waiting for the end? It will be born stale, boys, stinking to offend, dying ere it fail, boys, waiting for the end. Shall we go all wild, boys, waste and make them blend, playing at the child, boys, waiting for the end? It has all been filed, boys. History has a trend, each of us enniled, boys, waiting for the end. What was said by Marx, boys? What did he propend? No good being sparks, boys, waiting for the end. Treason of the clerks, boys. Curtains that descend. Lights becoming darks, boys, waiting for the end. Waiting for the end, boys, waiting for the end. Not a chance to blend, boys. Things have got to tend. Think of those who vend. Boys, think of how we wend, waiting for the end, boys, waiting for the end. My other item is as part of my campaign to get people to believe that prose is in no way inferior to poetry, despite the fact that the Poets Union insists all the time that all literature would be poetry if it could, and that it's merely a deficiency in Jane Austen, that she thinks that prose is seriously worth writing. So here's a short story by Lydia Davis, whose short stories are often one sentence long, sometimes one paragraph long. This is just over a page, and it is, I think, about anxiety and an end, all right. A second chance. If only I had a chance to learn from my mistakes, I would, but there are too many things you don't do twice. In fact, the most important things are things you don't do twice, so you can't do them better the second time. You do something wrong and see what the right thing would have been and are ready to do it should you have the chance again. But the next experience is quite different and your judgment is wrong again. And though you're now prepared for this experience, should it repeat itself, you're not prepared for the next experience. If only, for instance, you could get married at 18 twice, then the second time you could make sure you were not too young to do this, because you would have the perspective of being older and would know that the person advising you to marry this man was giving you the wrong advice, because his reasons were the same ones he gave you the last time he advised you to get married at 18. If you could bring a child from a first marriage into a second marriage a second time, you would know that generosity could turn to resentment if you do not do the right things, and resentment back to kindness if you did, unless the man you married when you married a second time for the second time was quite different in temperament from the man you married when you married a second time for the first time, in which case you would have to marry that one twice also in order to learn just what the wisest course would be to take with a man of his temperament. If you would have your mother die a second time, you might be prepared to fight for a private room that had no other person in it watching television while she died. But if you were prepared to fight for that and did, you might have to lose your mother again in order to know enough to ask them to put her teeth in the right way and not the wrong way before you went into her room and saw her for the last time grinning so strangely, and then yet one more time to make sure her ashes were not buried again in that plain sort of airmail container in which she was sent north to the cemetery. That's Lydia Davis. My memory is terrible. Sassan, are you next? Who is after R?
Yes, Christopher, I am.
I mean, I know you're here. I just wasn't sure whether there was an interloper between R and T.
No, I'm here. I forgot to unmute myself. I'm going to read two short poems. The first one's by the Greek poet C.P. Cavafy. The translator is Ray Dalvin. This is Expecting the Barbarians. What are we waiting for? Assembled in the public square. The barbarians are to arrive today. Why such inaction in the Senate? Why do the senators sit and pass no laws? Because the barbarians are to arrive today. What further laws can the Senate pass? When the barbarians come, they will make the laws. Why did our emperor wake up so early and sits at the principal gate of the city on the throne in state wearing his crown? Because the barbarians are to arrive today, and the emperor waits to receive their chief. Indeed, he has prepared to give them a scroll. Therein he engraved many titles and names of honor. Why have our two consuls and the praetors come out today in the red embroidered togas? Why do they wear amethyst-studded bracelets and rings with brilliant, glittering emeralds? Why are they carrying costly canes today, superbly carved with silver and gold? Because the barbarians are to arrive today, and such things dazzle the barbarians. Why don't the worthy orators come as usual to make their speeches, to have their say? Because the barbarians are to arrive today, and they get bored with eloquence and orations. Why this sudden unrest and confusion? How solemn their faces have become. Why are the streets and squares clearing quickly and all return to their homes so deep in thought? Because night is here, but the barbarians have not come. Some people arrived from the frontiers, and they said that there are no longer any barbarians. And now, what shall become of us without any barbarians? Those people were a kind of solution. I'm going to read you one more poem. I'm going to read you an anti-anxiety poem. This is, and some of you, I'm sure, read this in your CC 220 just very recently as part of your reading with the English Romantic Poets. This is William Wordsworth's I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Wordsworth reminds us that regardless of how bad things get, we can always find solace in our imagination. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Our next reader is George Varamikos.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to read 3 short poems, 2 of which are from the 17th century Spanish poet Francisco Quevedo, and one 20th century Spanish poem by Blas de Otero. All 3 of these poems are my own translations. The first of the 3 is called The Ass. Nagging clock, what tale do you tell in a gust of miserable life, too quickly passing on this road short and narrow, a day's journey from end to end, a day that's barely a step? My miseries multiply. You could never catch up, even if you had held all the sands of that ample glass where the sea's waves cease. Let the hours pass uncounted. I do not want them marked. Leave me alone. Travel, see the world. I hear France is nice this time of year. I have plenty of time to sleep beneath the earth. But if by chance your task is to tell me my life's tale, well then, your work's nearly done, since the cares of this pathetic heart of mine and the bold flame which love, always to my chagrin, burns in these veins, filled, I think, with fire more than blood, not only hurries my death, but shortens my road. I know only too well I am fugitive breath. Already I know, already I fear, already too I hope that if I die, I must be dust like you, that I am like glass if I live like you. The second poem is by a 20th century Spanish poet, Blas de Otero. It's called Hombre, or Man. Wrestling arm in arm with death at the edge of the abyss, I cry out to God, and his enduring silence, echoing, drowns my voice in the lifeless void. Oh God, if I must perish, I want you to be awake. Oh God, am I talking to myself? Am I scratching at shadows in order to see you? I lift my hand and you cleave it off. I open my eyes and you pluck them out. I am thirsty and your sands turn to salt. Is this what it means to be human? Hands full of horror, to be and not to be, eternal, elusive, an angel with great wings wrought from chains. This final poem, From the Tower, also by Francisco de Quevedo, I think beautifully captures the wonderful communal work that we do together in the core curriculum. Withdrawn to this solitary place, with few but wise books, I live conversing with the dead, listening to them with my eyes. Open always, if not always understood, they amend, enrich my affairs. In rhythms of contrapuntal silence, awakened, they speak to the dreams of life. If only I didn't have to leave them, but it can be counted fortunate when we better ourselves by reading. I think our last speaker is Brian Walsh.
Can everybody hear me? Great. All right, thank you. So I have a short poem and then an excerpt from a Shakespeare play. So the short poem is from a Nobel Prize-winning Polish poet named Wisława Szymborska. It is not my own translation. It's called 4 in the Morning. The hour from night to day, the hour from side to side, the hour for those past 30. The hour swept clean to the crowing of cocks, the hour when earth betrays us, the hour when wind blows from extinguished stars, the hour of, and what if nothing remains after us, the hollow hour, blank, empty, the very pit of all other hours. No one feels good at 4 in the morning. If ants feel good at 4 in the morning, 3 cheers for the ants. And let 5 o'clock come if we are to go on living. That is 4 in the morning. My next excerpt is just going to be an excerpt from a soliloquy from the lead character, title character of Richard II, who is the guy, the face you see behind me, Shakespearean history play from the mid-1590s. And the only context you need for this is that Richard has been deposed from his kingship by someone who he's calling Bolingbroke, also known as eventually Henry IV. And he has just heard some music playing from outside of his cell. And he thinks that this music is not being played very well, but he also thinks someone's doing it as an act of kindness for him as he sits in his cell. So he's meditating now on the music. Ha ha, keep time, how sour sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. So it is in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string, but for the concord of my state and time had not an ear to hear my true time broke. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches on unto mine eyes, the outward watch, whereto my finger, like a dial's point, is pointing still in cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans, which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times, and hours. But my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand fooling here, his jack of the clock. This music mads me, but its sound no more. For though it have helped madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessing on his heart that gives it me, for 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world. That's that. And I'm the last one, I think, so I guess I'm turning it back over to Sassan or to Zach.
Yep. Everyone, I wanted to thank you all. First of all, thank all the readers for their wonderful contributions to this reading. I want to thank all you scholars who have joined us. I know that we tried to keep this event this year on the brief side. I know we are, so many of you are burnt out by Zoom and burnt out by the computer screen, but we are happy to read, if not for you, to read at you. In any case, good luck with your final exams. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you scholars, thank you readers, thank you old friends. Oh, yes, Professor Hamill.
I'm just so happy to see so many alumni here. So we're talking to the students, but there's so many alumni, and I want to say hello. I want to say thank you for all your support on Giving Day. And my name is Keena Howell. I'm the director, follower of Stephanie Nelson, who's a follower of Brian Jorgensen, who's also here. And we've got, it's great to see you. So thank you for coming.
Keena Howell, also known as La Jefa. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Very good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you all.